We've met with coal lobbyists 28 times. Please don't make them clean up their ashy coal grime. Let's poison our water for nickels and dimes. Cause we love it because it's ash. Oh, I love ash. We've met with coal lobbyists 28 times. Please don't make them clean up their ashy coal grime. Let's poison our water for nickels and dimes. Cause we love it because it's ash. Oh, I love ash.
I love ash.
I'd like to ask you about a New York Times editorial from January which criticized your office for indefinitely stalling a public hearing on an EPA proposed rule to regulate the disposal of coal fly ash. Now, that seems to be a very strong criticism given the conversation today, and they even suggested that much of this debate is happening behind closed doors. So how do you respond to that in light of this conversation, and might there be advantages to some of these conversations happening behind closed doors?
Well, I can't comment on any rules under review. So if you'll permit, I'll just bracket that. I will say the question suggests kind of the limits of openness, and there are three domains that are worth a lot of thought. One involves the relationship between openness and privacy. One involves the relationship between openness and national security, and one involves the relationship between openness and the deliberative process. If you look at the Open Government Directive itself, the OMB, Open Government Directive, it recognizes the legitimacy and the importance of protecting privacy and national security. So one thing we've done with the Open Government Directive is being very forward-leaning in terms of openness, but in a way that ensures that if there's something in your own life that you don't want the world to see, that's going to be protected. And if there's something that is important to national security, that will be protected as well. So the President is very committed to openness, but these are two areas where there's a balance to be struck. In the deliberative process, there's also a balance to be struck. And we've moved the needle far in the direction of openness, but everyone's aware that there are conversations, let's say, between the President and his closest advisors, or the head of a cabinet department and his or her closest advisors, that are legitimately not opened. And that's one with which we continue to struggle, and that's one with which we continue to engage people outside of the government for their own views.
Results. The Open Government Directive depends heavily on citizen feedback and input from the public about information, data, and so forth. And yet, today, more and more, people are using media and communication techniques that can bias the results. We have a very polarized society as well. How do you assure the statistical reliability that you're getting a representative sample of opinions and not just a very biased group?
That's a fabulous question. Thank you for that. If everyone heard it, the question is representativeness of what you hear. And it may be that you hear things that don't capture what actually Americans mostly think. We're aware that to think you have a view of the majority of people when only a small proportion participated wouldn't be very reliable. What we think is really exciting, we're very excited about along the domain you've identified, is that as we design, and something's coming up on April 7th, which is the due date for the open government plans, we're going to have plans coming in which have benefited not from saying what do 52% of people like, but instead what does everyone think who's willing to talk to us. And we've gotten great ideas. And so on April 7th, what you're going to see, it's going to be just a first crack. But for the first time, there are going to be open government plans from agencies and departments all over the government. And they are going to reflect the very process that they're helping to constitute. They're going to reflect openness and ideas. And then they're going to invite further openness and ideas. Now, if it turns out there's a skewed sample, then probably there's more work to do in getting ideas from more people. But ideas, you know, the strength of ideas depends on whether they're helpful. And past evidence over the last month suggests we're going to get a lot that's really helpful.